Hi all. We're gonna do a Microsoft Access intro video. Access is Microsoft's mid-level database. There's many different ways that we could approach this. You know, how do you get started with this stuff, right? So I thought we'd start by just looking at one and see what it looks like. So Northwind is the main sample that comes with Access. There's many different samples, but Northwind has been around forever. If you go to your apps and go to Microsoft Office, here's Access. I have 2007, but the other versions, 210, 216, they should be real similar. We can right click that and say send a shortcut to the taskbar. So now we can start it up from here. Okay, we'll get into that in a bit, but first, you know, here's an older Access database. You can tell it's an older one by this MDB extension, northwind.mdb, MDB for Microsoft database. So we can click that twice to open it. Okay, and here, this is just a junk screen. It's just a splash screen meant to fancy it up. So this is a sample, right? They're showing you the different features that you could add to a database. So we'll just close this. And this thing along here, this is your database. See, there's many different things inside of a database. If you're not seeing tables here, what you can do is click this drop down and inside here choose tables. You'll have to choose object type, object meaning a table, and then choose a table here. So here we're seeing the tables. These are the tables inside the database. Okay, we'll get into that more later. So there's tables inside of a database. So I've got a whole lecture, takes about an hour, that explains how all that works, but I thought with this we just start with opening the program and see what it looks like. So, like, here's your customer table. You open up a table, here's the customer name here. This is a free floating thing. Okay, so you can see it looks just like a spreadsheet. It's what's going on behind the scenes that makes it different. How you add items to it, how you search it, and things like that. Even though it looks like a spreadsheet, there's a big difference between spreadsheets in Excel and tables in Access. So we can open up a few more of these. See, here's the employee table, and so on. So you see, they all look like spreadsheets. And then you have a bunch of tabs up here. Okay, and over the next few videos we'll hit on most of the items on these things. So Okay, so that's an older Access database. Okay, so to show you how the new one works, we'll click on this to start it up. And you can see it doesn't start up like a normal application. Just to show you what I mean is, if you start Word, you start with a blank piece of paper. You start Excel, you start with a blank spreadsheet. You start PowerPoint, they start you with a blank slide. But when you start Access, you get all this mumbo jumbo. Okay, here I'll do it again. So we'll start Access. So it starts up the database application. So right there, make the distinction between a database file and a database application. Okay? We use Word to create Word files. We use a database application to create database files. Okay, so if we go into local templates here, you can see here is our Access sample. By template, they mean samples. We clicked the Create button. Well, first we select the sample here. It shows us a preview here. And then you can see here on the newer ones, the extension is ACCDB for Access Database. You know, on the older one, it was MDB for Microsoft Database. I bring that up in case, you know, you happen to go to work somewhere and your boss says, go get the MDB file. And you go, you know, what's that? You know, it's just like slang for saying the Access database. You know. But the newer ones are ACC for Access, and then DB for database. And you can see we're not opening the file, we're creating a new one every time we open it. So it creates the file here, and then it throws up a bunch of junk here. You know, we're opening a sample, right? Not just a database. They're trying to show you all the features. So we can just click this to close it. And then this pane here, this is like a fancy view into the database. There's many different things inside of a database. Just like in Word, you can have text and graphics, and there's other things inside that file. So best way to view this stuff is to go object type. Show us the objects in the database. Okay, so you can see there's many different things inside of the database. There's tables, queries, forms, reports, macros, modules. Okay, so the main thing is tables. Tables inside of the database. Okay, so here's our customer table. We open up a table and you get a tab here. Here's the employee table, and now we have two tabs that we can view the different tables and so on. Okay, so I have these Word files that I use for my Access lectures when I teach this at college. I like to put everything in Word files because then we don't miss anything. You know, if I just open up Access application and start talking, I may or may not remember to go over something. So I started putting everything in Word files, and then I could upload it and the students can download the file, and if they miss class they've got the lecture on a Word file. So most of my lectures are in Word files now. So this first part we went over. I told Sassy she's not allowed to sleep up here, but she don't listen. She likes that spot for some reason. Huh, Sassy? Huh? She's a little 3-year-old girl. Sassy, come on. Say hi. She's going to sleep. Okay, so just to skim through this, Access is a database. We store data inside of a database. Data can be text, numbers, pictures, just about anything can be stored inside of a database. You start it from the start menu. You can put a shortcut on your desktop. You can tell it's a shortcut because it's got that little arrow on it. If I wanted to put a shortcut on the desktop, I can go to the application. See, Access is the one that's got a picture of a little key. Key because in a database they have primary keys. That's one of the features. So if you right click, and of course there's no item for put shortcut on database. So let's see if we can get that to happen here. Office, Access. If we right click and hold, drag it to the desktop. Nope. Left click and hold. Okay, so left click and hold, and we can put a shortcut on the desktop. So we know it's a shortcut because it's got that little area. A shortcut's just used to start up the application, so we don't have to hunt and peck through here or use this. It's nice to put things on your taskbar, but what happens is that fills up, and then every time you open something, it bounces over another level. So you actually have 2 levels of your taskbar open. You actually have 2 levels of your taskbar open, and that kind of gets to be a pain too. Okay, so we went over this. Click on local templates. It would make more sense if it said samples. You can probably get to it here too. If you wanted to start from scratch, you could click here and open up a blank one here. You can see there's all types of samples. Each sample is based on showing different features of the database. All the fancy features built inside of it, what you can do with it. So a good place to start is with Northwind. That's the main sample. It's been around forever. For a while, a couple versions of Office, they tried to get rid of it. They tried to just go with the updated samples. And there were so many complaints they had to put Northwind back in. There's also different versions of Northwind. If you just go out on the web and try to download it, you should download the version for your version of Office. If you have 2010, get a 2010 database, Access database. You can open the older ones or newer ones, but some of the fancy features may not work right. There's another popular sample. It's called AdventureWorks. That's the one they tried moving everyone to when they got rid of Northwind, but it just didn't work. So we opened Northwind, click on the shortcut, click on the database file, see MDB file. MDB is the older file. So click on sample, click on Northwind. See how the newer Access files are ACCDB. This is the sample. This gives you a preview of the sample. Click the create button to open it up or to create it. It opens up the file. It used to be it would throw up a login screen. You're logging into the database, just like you would log into Facebook or Twitter. You would log into the database. This is just a generic name, which was fine. You just leave that name there and click the login button. And then it just shows you a junk screen. It's like an overview of what's inside of the database. Just click the X to close it. There's another junk screen, startup screen. You can click the X to close that. And then it used to be it would throw up the help screen too. Just throw up the help screen right in front of you. Just something else to confuse you. So just click the X to close that. And just so you know, if you're connected to the internet, when you do a search in help, you get more you get more results in your search if you're connected here. So this would be like a blank screen. Okay. This guy here is how you turn on the macros. When you're messing around with a sample, you want to be able to experiment with all the features, right? Well, what you have to do is turn on the macros so everything works. So it would make more sense if This said turn on macros. Okay, so that's this. You just click on that button, then you would get this pop up here. Click this radio button, and then click the OK button. So that's how you turn on the macros. Click that radio button, then click the OK button. Okay, so, and then we're back to this left-hand pane. You got these little two arrows that you can click on. Double arrows, I think they're also called chevrons, like the gas station. So there's the full picture of that pane. Sassy's tired. She was out for a whole week, 24 hours a day. I had to go out and catch her. She ain't got enough sense to come in at night. Huh, Sassy? Huh. So I got her and gave her a bath. She wants to be a wildcat. So this is a fancy view into the database. It's something that they just started doing with 2007. If you click that down arrow and choose, click that down arrow and choose object type. Object meaning tables and things like that. Then we get our normal view. This has been the normal view into a database for years, for as long as I know. But for some reason with 2007 they changed it to that fancy view. So this is a more generic view into the database. Main thing is tables. We just want to see the tables. We'll talk about the other things too, but the main thing is the tables. There's many tables inside one database. We'll talk a lot more about that later. Okay? Just like inside one Word file, there's many pages. Inside one database, there's many tables. So here's a screenshot of all the tables. I just put this in here in case you don't have it at home, then you could still check out the tables. And you don't need to go through and memorize these things. These are just an example of what it looks like. So every database is going to be different, it just depends on how you name these things. And then there's queries. That queries are how you search a database. You collect all this data inside your database, like a spreadsheet, right? You collect all types of data and stuff like that. Well, after you collect your data, what do you do with it? You want to analyze it and search it and look for stuff. Well, a fancy word for searching is a query. So that's this. This here is a big topic inside databases, and we'll go through that a lot. There's forms inside of a database. If you checked out some of my Visual Studio and Visual Basic videos, there were forms. We actually create a form and put buttons on it. It's the same thing here. So here's an example of a form. The world runs on forms. Everywhere you go, you fill out a form. Doctor's office, car fix-it shop. Every place you go, you fill out a form. So this is a form inside of a database. There's reports. Let's say your boss says, show me the sales for New York. Well, you just go and you print out a spreadsheet and hand him the spreadsheet. Well, he's going to think you're crazy. You know. He wants to see a fancy looking printout. There's all types of fancy ways to print out your data, so it looks cleaner. You can get good jobs just making reports from database files. There's one big application called Crystal Reports. Macros. When we ran the login screen, that was just we're using a macro to log into the database. That's just small programs that run inside Access. And then module is just like a big macro. Like here's an example of one. And there again, if you've checked out a few of my Visual Studio and Visual Basic videos, it's the same type of deal there. You know, we're programming inside Access with Visual Basic, you know, VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. So you can be real good at Access and never have to really deal with this type of thing. So this is just an example of what's inside module here. Okay, so here's what's inside of your database: tables, queries, forms, reports, macros, modules. So now you should have a better idea of what this stuff is. And the next part of this file, we go over tables, and we've already looked at a few when we opened up the sample. Columns go up and down, you know, the ID column, the company column, the last name column, the first name column. Rows go left to right. They also call them records. First row, second row, third row. First record, second record. There's 20 records in my table. You know, you could have thousands of records, rows. That's where you would need the queries to be able to search those thousands of rows or records. Okay, and I think we'll stop there for now, and we'll start up with the next video here. Okay, see ya.